Boise City Council now has more say over potential projects that come to them after an appeal.
Thanks to unanimous vote this week, council can add their own conditions to construction applications even after planning and zoning weighs in. Abby Davis is following in this story. And Abby, this stems from a recent Idaho Supreme Court decision.
Right. Justices ruled council members should never have been allowed to approve a new homeless shelter under city code. Although the ruling prompted this week's vote, council says it will benefit the entire community.
This is a better system.
Boise City Council members gave themselves more power during the appeals process Tuesday.
Corliss.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Now, council can add conditions of approval to applications regardless of what planning and zoning decides.
The larger the public process, usually the better ability for planning and zoning and city council to make an application better.
The controversial change spurred by an Idaho Supreme Court ruling earlier this year, which said council violated city code when it overturned P&Z's vote against Interfaith Sanctuary's new homeless shelter.
It was a total shock.
Councilmember Jimmy Halliburton says they thought they could add conditions.
We have added miles of sidewalks, extra crosswalks. We've addressed transportation issues, all sorts of small things that make a difference that we would not have been able to do if we kept the code exactly the same, the way that the Supreme Court had kind of told us.
Doing this only now in a direct reaction to the Supreme Court decision overturning Interfaith Sanctuary's CUP is problematic.
As this change seems designed to facilitate approval of a harmful project rightly rejected by the PZC.
Council members pushed back on the opposition, saying the change is bigger than interfaith, in part because it allows for new testimony and evidence during appeal hearings.
We all saw the limitations of if we continue with the Supreme Court ruling in our current code, how limited it would be for us to respond to our citizens. And everybody saw that as a negative for our city and a much more positive if we could make some small code changes that made that robust process for public input more available.
This does clear a path for Interfaith to submit another application for its Northeast Boise shelter, which it plans to do. But even Councilmember Lucy Willits, who voted against the project, agreed to the change in code. She brought up a recent meeting where council heard an appeal about a new battery storage facility. They wanted to add conditions to address certain concerns like possible fires, but couldn't. Morgan and Brian.
Okay, so what does planning and zoning think of this rule change, Abby?
Several commissioners said it wasn't necessary during a meeting a few weeks ago, but ultimately said council should approve it with a request, though, that the city review the full zoning code by the end of the year.
All right, interesting. We'll see how this goes forward with future projects and how they change.